Right of introduction, Lawrence.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's self-explanatory from what's in writing, but I will just quickly cover off my recommendation, or what I've moved is that we reject the recommendation from the panel to allow submission 023 by the Mansell family by rezoning the land covered by the submission from rural lifestyle to general residential. And then I've given reasoning behind that. First, that we concur with our council officer's reply, and then I've given the evidence of what the reply said, and then made 2 points for why we're disagreeing with the independent hearing panel's conclusions for supporting the rezone. The first one being they reject the need for a structure plan, which our officers have suggested is the best way for the whole area. And that reason is in there. I personally think that there's not enough evidence. It seems to be a bit of a, you've got two experts saying two different things, and let's pick which one we land on. Doesn't seem to be enough evidence for me to support denying a structure plan. We also note that there was a rejection of another submission to rezone another large slice of land that is very closely geographically located on Ratanui Road to this one. That would fit under the need for a structure plan of that whole area over Otaihanga to ensure that it does develop appropriately moving forward. The second point I would put in there is that we reference Te Atiawa ki Whakarongotai's submission, in which they say they only support in part submission 023 regarding the Mansell family rezoning, and they add their reason, which really, in essence, says they want a structure plan or some sort of a full picture of that whole area and the ongoing effects under the RMA. So I'm happy to table that.
Thank you. Is there any debate on this? Yeah, one thing I will note about this is that it clearly references the documents that are in front of us. I do note that the council staff, the council officer's reply evidence is quite strong on the need for a structure plan in this area. And I've read carefully the Commissioner's report, and I'm not quite convinced that a structure plan isn't needed in this area. So I believe I'm in support of this at the present time, but happy to hear any further debate. Councillor Halliday, I'll just remind that if you debate on the substantive motion, you're not at liberty to move an amendment. Am I right about that?
That's fine, Madam Chair. Can I just ask for a quick bit of clarity?
No, if you say anything, you're not at liberty to move an amendment, and it's not question time.
For clarity, Madam Chair, can I ask, I didn't quite hear what your last part of your statement was.
Oh, you just want me to repeat something?
Just the end part, whether you supported it or not. I didn't quite hear that.
Yeah, well, at the moment I'm inclined to support it, but I said I was looking forward to hearing further debate on it.
So for clarity, supporting the rejection or supporting the...
Supporting the motion, so I'll repeat what the motion is that's in front of us. It's B1. Identify which recommendations of the independent panel that it rejects, the reasons for doing so, and any alternative recommendations in the table below. And I'm referring to this piece of paper here.
Okay, sorry, you must have misheard my question. My clarity question was just, I didn't hear what you said at the end with regards to what your support was, whether it was...
I repeated what I said at the end just now.
Okay.
Okay,
through you, Madam Chair. In regards to this submission, to tupupai our future growth strategy, talks that we will meet our requirements for intensification as such. Otahanga has been identified as a medium priority greenfield growth area. That means growth is going in that area. And while I do appreciate what's being talked to with regards to a structure plan, I note in number 230 on page 92 of the HPR that infrastructure fell away as it was established. Access to three waters infrastructure was established. So I'm under the impression that a infrastructure plan is required for infrastructure, for future infrastructure. Yet here we have a situation where the three waters infrastructure has been clarified that there is access in this area. Fully respecting what's been said about the other block of land, because it's a 50-hectare block. This is about a third of that size. A big point for me, though, is this is already a consented project. So the infrastructure has to be there for that consented project. That's my take on this. So I don't buy into the fact that we need an infrastructure plan for this particular piece of land, if that's really what the base argument is here. We are looking at bringing forward slightly, I guess, something that's already been identified in our Growing Well strategy as an area, prime area, if you look at the information between numbers 224 and 225 and 245 in the HPR, that does really lean towards supporting this project. I appreciate that the commissioners didn't support this in the first instance, but as I noted, that resistance fell away as more information was made available to them around the current situation. So I will be not supporting the rejection of this as we move forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'll again remind elected members that if you debate on the substantive motion, there's no ability to move an amendment.
For clarity, Madam Chair, are we saying that someone can put forward a motion and we can't comment on it? Is that what I'm hearing?
If you want to amend it.
I don't want to amend this. I just want to amend this particular one.
So
So we've got to make an amendment on this.
Yes, to put your stuff on.
I'll just get some advice on my ability to be flexible about that.
In the same document.
It's all got to go on the one table, so if you want to add things into the table, you have to do an amendment. Unless Janet can find a way around it, just lost the ability to put forward the changes.
So because Māori spoke, he can't talk all again today?
Amend the motion.
Any of the motions? Or just...
This motion, because he's spoken.
So what we were talking about was an amendment to the...
Okay, I've got some clarification. Yeah, so we can move another addition to the table and second it if we so want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one to the vote.
Can I have a right of reply?
Right of reply.
Thank you. Just to clarify something in terms of debate, there is a difference between a structure plan and an infrastructure plan. Structure plan takes into account the whole of the area, including transport, flood zones, roading, existing housing, it's a big overall picture. It just doesn't cover infrastructure. I'm not arguing and debating in this. The reason why we're rejecting this is because there's no infrastructure there. That is clearly there. If you look at the maps, there is Three Waters infrastructure that is coming to that location. I'm not debating that. I'm debating the fact and putting this in because I think we need a structure plan for that area to ensure that it develops well. And I would go further to say that the independent hearing panel have referenced memos from Hanson where he says in that he actually agrees with the structure plan, but then he goes on and says that there's enough greyness in it that he would say it's not. And you can look at that in the Hanson memo, 18th of the April 23, points 2.2 and 2.3. And then I would go further and reference the independent hearing panels in their report 241 and 244. They reference that the resource consent commissioners have approved a development of 42 sections on that site, and that they have done enough work to ensure that there is enough research done. I would question that because shifting from rural lifestyle zoning to general residential zoning shifts it from 42 sections to potentially 124 sections. And that under medium density residential could be a possibility of 376 houses on that site. To say that you've taken into account that load, but the resource consent commissioners who are asked to look at a lot that is 42 versus a lot that is now potentially 124, to say that they've taken into account all of the environmental costs, all of the ongoing issues for traffic and everything like that.
Excuse me, Councillor Kirby, is that within the scope of the submissions that you've read? You shouldn't be bringing any extra points?
All of that is in the documentation that we've received, all of those things that I've just referenced. So that's my right of reply to this, my recommendation.
So I've had advice from staff that they're quite clear on how to document it if we move and second each change that people want to make on this table. So that's been moved and seconded. So I'll put that to the vote. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
So what are we actually voting on? No, what? The yes or
Okay, I
no?
might have to put that vote again because it hasn't been clear to all councillors what we're voting on. Identify which recommendations of the independent hearings panel that it rejects, the reasons for doing so, and any alternative recommendations in the table below. And the table below is in front of you and it looks like this. Okay, I'll put that vote. Are we all clear now?
Yes, thank you.
I'll put that vote again. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Anybody calling for a division?
I'll call for a division.
Okay, all in favour, please raise your hand.
In favour to reject.
Cool. Okay. All those in favour are Councillor Handford, Councillor Spires, Councillor Warwick, Councillor Cooper, Councillor Pravanov, Councillor Kirby, and Mayor Holborough.
Oh, has Rob voted?
Yep. Councillor Cofitt. He is clapping and putting his hand up. All those
Too much
against.
information.
Against are Councillor
Could you please raise your hand if you voted against the motion?
Councillor Coe and Councillor Holliday. Abstained? Nobody. Thank you.
So that's carried. We are communicating with the Minister who will make a ruling on this, hopefully before too long. So I'll ask if anybody wants to move another table or item on the table. to communicate back to the Minister? I'm not seeing. We have Councillor Provanov. So Councillor Provanov has provided a document that looks like this. It has a table on the front, which is in the kind of blurry style to which we've been accustomed to reading on the hub.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right
If
of
you-
introduction.
Yes, so thank you.
Thank
If you
you,
go to the
Councillor
last
Provanov.
page,
Oh, no, hang on, we haven't got a seconder yet.
okay.
Do I have somebody to second that? Seconded by Councillor Halliday. Right of introduction.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if you go to the last page on the document, council staff have been shown which points I would like added to this in terms of supporting the recommendation that has currently gone through. So basically, in the document, on section 7.3, I think it's 224, the Boffa Miscall report is referenced. I went into that report, and in that report it says, the existing rural lifestyle neighbourhood would likely be significantly altered by the expansion of the urban environment into the area. Existing water supply reticulation mains pass through the area on Ratanui Road and Otahanga Road. Existing wastewater mains run along Otahanga Road and Ratanui Road in the western extent of the area, although no wastewater mains are located east of the area. Significant development in the area may trigger upgrades in the existing wastewater treatment plant and extending infrastructure services to an area that may be resource intensive. The northern and southwestern extents of the area are subject to flood resist, and almost the entire extent of the area is identified as a high risk liquidation area.
Okay.
So it hasn't gone on the screen yet, has it? Oh, they're still working on it, okay, yeah. So I'm actually including, adding more information. Yes, I am. Yes.
She's adding to,
Yes. I'm adding more information to the, that it's going to go to the Minister.
that's an amendment to something's already been moved.
That's what we've
I
been told.
apologise.
You said that we could add to,
That item has been moved, seconded, and carried.
you actually said that we could then add more to each item.
No, add more items to the table.
Yeah, what I was referring to was adding more items to the table.
So the clarification is not great, I'm sorry. No, it's not.
So I'd like to keep this discussion to the items that are on the table and keep this conversation clean, please. I'm just trying to think. We've already moved a recommendation with and seconded it and moved it, which was the one on this piece of paper. If we wanted to add to the table, that needed to be an amendment to that one. So what I'm asking for now is any further items, any alternative recommendations that people would want to bring to add to the table of alternative recommendations.
Can I have a clarification? As far as I'm concerned, any additions to that table need to be in the format required in that table. We have a lot of information in front of us which is not in the appropriate format, or which does not reference submissions or the panel's recommendations, and I have a big problem with that.
So if you have a problem with that, then the thing to do would be to vote against the recommendation when it's put. This has been supplied to us as a table.
That's right.
This has been supplied to us like this.
Yes, which is not.
And
in
this
the
has
correct
been
format.
supplied to us like this.
That's right.
It's up to us whether we want to send this and this to the Minister or not, in my view. We're not going to be creating tables and trying to find references in the report today. If we want to move and second an item that's going into a table, you have to populate the table.
I'm just unclear as to what the motion is on this document.
Yeah, I'm unclear about that too. So I'm asking for the mover to, if whoever, I think this is Councillor Pravanov. If somebody would like to move and see if there's a seconder. Are you moving that we table this? Councillor Pravanov?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Halliday. So I'm not quite clear what you're moving, Councillor Pravanov, so if you could please explain.
Yes, so thank you. So it was my expectation that you would have asked for councillors to add more to the item that was actually on the screen. You didn't do that.
Add to the table.
That particular item.
Okay, so would you like all of this information to go into that table?
So as I
Because
said,
this is what you've tabled
so
today.
as I've said, I've actually shown staff which part of this document I'd actually like added to that table. I did that about 5 minutes ago.
Okay, are we nearly finished with that?
It's just a cut and paste.
So it's kind of a new table. We're doing them as separate tables.
Okay.
They're going to add to this line and they will put it up on the screen.
So we can't, so we need all three to be filled. Recommendation rejected,
Yes.
reason, and alternative recommendation.
Yes, so the
And you
reason,
provided that?
the recommendation is to reject. The reasons are the bullet points that I've shown staff, which I'd like included in that table.
So I feel like we're not following standing orders here. We're not running a proper meeting. So I'm just going to stop for a minute and we're going to adjourn while we sort this out.
Doing it on the fly. This is Johnson's making it.